Tonight's topic is BDS of Israel, successes to date, and the campaign to boycott Eurovision in 2019. We have two eminently qualified speakers to speak to you. Hilmi Baddagh, who is from BDS Australia, and Hilmi is of Palestinian origin. His family was expelled from the city of Jaffa in Palestine in 1948. Before immigrating to Australia in 1998 with his wife and three daughters, Hilmi worked with European consulting firms providing technical assistance in the area of economic statistics. He was the main advisor to the team that released the first ever Palestinian national accounts in 1994. Hilmi is a co-founder and current convener of BDS Australia, which is Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions.
So, with the situation Mona described, the Palestinians have to resort to other means of struggle. In July 2004, the International Court of Justice ruled that the separation wall is illegal. This apartheid wall is illegal, and the settlements are illegal. But with Israel being Israel, impunity above law, nothing was implemented, no actions. So the Palestinians decided to take things in their hands in a new creative way. Not totally creative, but there is now a new method to try to follow, and that's the boycotting Israel. So 170 civil society organizations in Palestine, including charities, parties, including Fatah Party, which is the main party within the DNA, churches, all of these bodies have called on the world and on the conscience of people to implement justice for Palestine. It has been way too long injustice that can't go on forever. And that's, as I said, endorsed by 170 organizations. It's inspired by previous experiences in South Africa, in the blacks in America, and in fact the Palestinians themselves do have long history in non-violent struggle. In 1936, the Palestinians held 6 months strike, longest ever in history until that point, against the British mandate. Let alone the popular resistance now we see in all these villages in the West Bank, where Westerners, some Israelis joined them. Let alone the marches we have seen in Gaza, where innocent people were shot dead. So we do have the history of non-violence, and the BDS built on that with the new call or principle of settlements, they call it. This call for BDS was a statement of principles on how to implement this boycott. So what did the BDS call for? 3 clear, specific demands. Israel has to end occupation for the West Bank and Gaza, although they say they freed Gaza, but they've really withdrawn from the land. As you know, it is not the air, not the sea, not the borders. So withdrawal and end the occupation, dismantling the settlements, and dismantling the apartheid war. That's for the Palestinians living in West Bank and Gaza, in Palestine. Then also for the Palestinians living in Gaza proper, 1948, they have to have equal human rights and equal laws that doesn't have any discrimination, no apartheid that Mona talked about in some details. And the third requirement is all Palestinians around the world have the right to go and to their home based on international law, UN Resolution 194. So we are not creating anything new. This is a UN resolution. We just ask to implement it. And to empower ourselves, we want people to pressure Israel through BDS in order to implement and get these demands implemented. BDS works on 3 levels from its name. Boycott is on the level of consumers, so everyone can do it. It's very empowering. It's quite easy to implement. Then we take it 1 level up. We go to divestment. This is for businesses, non-profit organizations, to withdraw their money from any businesses that is complicit or have strong relationship with Israel, with occupation, profiteering from occupation. And then hopefully that will go up from the grassroots to the businesses to the governments, where sanctions happen. Sanctions happens on the level of the governments. Hopefully by time, our politicians, who seem to have no clue yet, when in Australia 2/3 of Australians say Palestine state should happen, they support a Palestinian state. Our politicians don't hear that. One day, with BDS, with the pressure, we hope that the politicians will hear us loud, that there is a problem. It has to be solved. And then, hopefully, they will impose like embargo, at least on arms trading with Israel, providing Israel with arms, at least that it can be done, similar to South Africa. BDS has two main streams. One is for the all services and products, and one for agriculture. For education and cultural level. They are all one, but the education and cultural has its specifics and characteristics where there are teams in charge of implementing it. It's for the academia, it's for people. Eurovision can be part of it because it's art really. So there is these two main streams. And BDS is really based on very strong organization in Palestine. There is Boycott National Committee. It's the executive board for the BDS movement. And they have the representative who connect with different areas around the world. We have a liaison officer from BNC who communicates to us in Australia, and they are really high level. The guy who talks to us in Australia he's a professor in water resources. He teaches in Europe. They know what they are doing. When we implement BDS, there are operational guidelines, we call them. First and foremost, they have to be context sensitive. That means mainly we can't boycott any product. We have to look at the product very thoroughly. It has to be based on research. We shouldn't ask people to boycott any product that harm the boycotter. If there is only one product in the market, you can do that. If there is only one alternative that's more expensive, you can do that. It has to be sensible, it has to be implemented easy without any burden on the people exercising the boycott. And it has to be gradual, the way we talked about it in these three levels, from grassroots up to the politicians, and it has to be sustainable. We can't start a campaign if we know that we cannot sustain it. There are other guidelines. Most importantly, the campaigns have to achieve victories, and this is very important. We need national strategic campaigns that achieve victories. Similar when Veolia, French company, had to withdraw from Israel, sell its business. Similar to Orange, French big telecommunication company withdraw. Such big victories shakes Israel from its foundation. Many people think that I can take here with my shopping list products that I want to boycott, and that's fine, and that makes us feel good, but this is not really what the BDS is about. BDS is about achieving big victories where Israel says, what the hell, why Orange is withdrawing? The Prime Minister of Israel called Orange CEO and tried to exercise so many practices, and the CEO of Orange said no. For the main reason that there is a strong BDS organization in Egypt that started to boycott, and Orange apparently had very big market share in Egypt, so they were very worried. Similarly, the Arab countries, and I'll talk about that. Some Arab countries, rich Arab countries, when they do the right thing, which is not quite common, unfortunately, they have, for instance, practiced pressure on G4S. I'm going to talk about G4S as well. They didn't give tenders to G4S. And then G4S had to sell its business in Israel, except they are still in partnership in one company, which I'll talk about. So, another operational concept, BNC doesn't publish lists. And that's because the Boycott National Committee in Palestine likes people in the different regions to do their researches and implement what suits their area. There are international campaigns. They would like us so much to join when we can, but there can be specific regional campaigns, like the one where I'm going to talk about Il-Beit with the Royal Flying Doctors. And always BNC says, do your campaigns based on strong research in your region. Anti-BDS arguments, I don't think I need to go into details. I think you know all this is Hasbara. It is anti-Semitic. It is not anti-Semitic. It has never called for anything against Jews. It's against Israel. It is one-sided. It's not one-sided. It is not a conflict. It's an occupation against occupied people. It is apartheid. It is discrimination. It is a human right abuse. It's not. There is no sides like you. They say no. There are sides. They are not sides. They are not conflict between equal like entities.
It's disgraceful what's going on.
It is calls for elimination of Israel. That's because we say the Palestinians have the right to go back to Palestine. Why, if Palestinians have to go right to Palestine, is elimination of Israel? How on earth someone, a Jew now in the eastern suburb or St. Ives, has the right to go and live in my home in Jaffa, and I who come from Jaffa, generation after generation, cannot go to Palestine and live in my home now? That's not acceptable. That's not justice. Violation of free speech, in particular here they mean the academia, that they don't want the academia to be involved in this. And no, the BDS doesn't really prevent even academic, Israeli academic staff from participating in conferences. They just say, we just say, if there is any conferences funded by Israeli government, please don't go. And it is known fact that most of the universities in Israel are so much involved in research and development for arms in cyber war against the BDS and for like so many other aspects that limits our struggle and go ahead with our freedom. So in Australia there was so many work on BDS. Until 2014, many organizations in so many places did take initiative. In fact, BDS call was in 2005. Some people took initiative in Australia in 2006. So, however, it was quite fragmented. There was successes here and there, and members of BNC visit Australia and said, although you have really very good campaigns, why don't you try to get a coordinated national campaigns? And that was one rationale why we thought about is founding this Palestine Support Network Australia. It's a coalition for all organizations that would like to be involved in BDS. Any pro-Palestine organization that like to be involved in BDS can come and join Palestine Support Network Australia. The other rationale was from the case of Jake Lynch. Anyone doesn't know about the case of Jake Lynch? I don't think anyone doesn't. You don't. Jake Lynch is an academic associate professor in the University of Sydney, and he refused the scholarship or fellowship from someone from a university in Israel, and an Israeli law firm came and sued him in Sydney based on anti-discrimination law. And it was long process and long fight in the courts. However, he won, and that's the first landmark victory. In fact, the case at the beginning was against Professor Jake Lynch and against Professor Stewart Rees, who is here with us today. But for some reason, then the case against Stewart Rees is scary. They couldn't come smoke. So, and what we learned from that, we were working on Veolia, in fact. What we learned that this can be a problem because the cost of the case was $250,000. And although he won, there was a lot of out-of-pocket money, and there was strong solidarity for Jake Lynch case, online funding, and that was the positive side, plus the media about the case. We as well in PSNA, we improvised our own guidelines. We'd like the campaigns to be very peaceful, lawful. We don't like to use any word that could be interpreted as anti-Semitic, of course. And yeah, these are the main guidelines, plus the guidelines by BNC. So that's what happened in 2014. 5 organizations gave us the authority. We went and registered Palestine Support Network Australia, PSNA. I'll be quick in that because I like to go to the campaigns before I not really talk about the procedural stuff. Then other 4 organizations joined us. And we did all the in-house website, all of that. I talked about Veolia. We joined International Veolia campaign, the French company, and they had to sell their business in Israel. So that was another big win, which we contributed to. There was Drop G4S. G4S is a English multinational. It said it is the biggest employer in the world. They are complacent with occupation. They train the staff in Israel, the military, the police. They provide equipment and material. They torture. They possibly train the Israelis how to torture the prisoners. We know that the Israelis arrest kids at middle of night, so it's very unethical. Very unethical. So the world has come strong on them, and they have sold their businesses, except they are still member in one company, which is training the police, Israeli police in Jerusalem. So we still hands-on on them, and we have worked on the campaign. However, when we were about to launch it also, there was news about real flying doctors in Australia, which is very prestigious organization, going in joint venture with Elbit. Elbit is an Israeli arms manufacturing company which destructed Gaza, or was used in wars in Gaza. It's one of the most selling drones companies in the world, and we said this is not right. So we stopped G4S, and we said the Australians should listen to us now. This is a very clear case of people who try to save life against people who destruct life and end life. That's not ethical. And we ran a campaign, and this was won. So that was a very big win, a second win in Australia. We had public petition, we had doctors petition, we had politicians calling and signing a petition for real flying doctors not to go ahead, and they had to comply. They say, no, it has nothing to do with BDS, we don't care, we know that, I think this is the reason, we know that for like almost sure. Okay, in BSNA, when we choose our target, we follow structured method based on the criteria I mentioned, our criteria, BNC. We decide what are the targets, and then someone from the team, each one takes a target, we do research. So it is really structured method unless there are things pop up like Eurovision, then we put it ahead because this is an important one. But in the normal situation, we try really to study our target thoroughly as BNC asks. We also have template for strategies. So we have standardized our strategy for all campaigns. What's the time frame? What's the objective? What's the communication media? All of that stuff. It's all formatted in a structured way. Then last year in July, there was a big national conference for BDS. Anyone has seen it, hasn't heard about it? Yeah, it was a big conference. Thanks for the academic, again, Nick Kramer sitting there, Jake Lynch. They spent enormous effort to have such big, successful conference for BDS in Australia. And in that time, we worked and produced this booklet on BDS, which talks about all work that happened about BDS in Australia since the outset until the conference. So that's why I didn't need to go through that. You can read about that in this booklet. And on the third day of the conference, there was a closed workshop for activists. We invited any pro-Palestine organization we know about in Australia to come and join. And 36 representatives came, there was discussion, share of experience, and there was a talk about forming a national body for BDS. And we said, wait a minute guys, don't reinvent the wheel. We have already established PSNA. We don't have any ownership. This is what we have done. We presented to them in the workshop all the work we have done, the campaigns, how we work it. And there was acknowledgement and recognition that PSNA is going to be the national body for BDS in Australia. And this is a really big achievement. We in Australia might be one of the rare countries that we have one coalition for BDS for the whole country. This is a strong achievement.
Well done.
And lately, just 2 months ago, in fact, we started to, we rebranded. Now we call it BDS Australia rather than BSNA. We thought it's closer to the minds, people can easily understand. The official entity association is still called BSNA, registered with fair trading, but now everything is BDS Australia. We discussed few issues around the insurance, and now our website is rebranded bdsaustralia.net.au. Please visit this website because everything will be on this website. All petitions will be on this website. We'll try to update it as quick and as fast as we can. Jumping to the most important thing, the campaigns, Eurovision. You've heard about Israel won Eurovision in 2018. It is supposed to happen in Tel Aviv in 2019. This is disastrous. This is absolute disaster because you cannot have whitewash Israel, apartheid Israel with art. We have to say no.
Yeah.
We may succeed, we may not succeed. What matters, we have a big no. We have a big fuss about it. And why ask you to one very basic, simple thing to do, please. Go and ask the SBS not to broadcast the Eurovision. The petition has come out, and so far we have 800 people. When 2/3 of the Australian people say there should be a Palestinian state, we should have tens of thousands of people say to SBS, don't broadcast this. Please tell your to your network. We really like to see strong voice saying don't broadcast it. That's the first action. In fact, that campaign in particular is coordinated by the BNC, the Boycott National Committee in Palestine, because it is very important for the youth, for people who are in art. And so we have 2 representatives on the email list, and it is coordinated internationally. They asked every country to nominate artists that they will sign an inauguration letter. We have 6 Australians, 140 artists around the world, 6 Israeli, sorry, I think we have 4. 6 Israeli artists signed it. It went in the Guardian, and it is a big news. And really we need to follow it because there will be future steps to protest. The SBS is only one action. Others will come. We don't know because this will come from the discussion around the world. What do we do? What do we do next? G4S, I talked about it enough, I think. And there is a flyer, it's on your table. 2 minutes. And in fact, that concludes the main part I wanted to talk. There are 2 examples from the media were interesting for me at least. Lately, a journalist in The Guardian published a very comprehensive article about the BDS. I really recommend it. It's called Nathan, what's his name?
Nathan
Thrall. It's very comprehensive article, very good. And it said that in the sense that it is not the boycott that the BDS call has come as creative. It is that they could consolidate the struggle of Palestinians and their dreams to have liberation for the 3 components in Palestine, in Israel, and in diaspora in one call, in one concrete call that really deals with it properly. There was also a very good interview on Al Jazeera Arabic, unfortunately, for Omar Barghouti, is one of the founder, and Anna Belza. I was quite curious to know and hear what do they think, these people, they are leaders of BDS, on the matter of legislation against BDS in USA. And Omar said they are succeeding. Israel has been trying to fight the BDS with every means, and they failed. They succeeded in legislation in 26 states in USA against BDS. He said, yes, they are succeeding, but this is a two-way sword, because on one hand, yeah, they are having these laws. On the other hand, it's alienating Israel and moving it out of the mainstream liberal people and countries. It's becoming so much ultra-right country. Also, he said there are cases. There is a case in the state of Kansas. A teacher applied to a job, I think, with the government. They asked her to sign something about the BDS, to be with the BDS, against BDS, and she said, no, I can't do that. Apparently, she is one from the churches that endorsed BDS. And there was a legal case in the court. The court said, federal court, the court said this is, doesn't comply with the constitution, and the law in that state, in Kansas, was frozen. So now the law is still in the federal courts, but she could apply and she won the case. If the federal courts ultimately say all these legislations are against the constitution, then they would be all of them invalid. Cross fingers. There was another case similar, exactly. Yesterday I read about it in Louisiana. Done. How can you help? This is the most important part. You know how. Please, the petition for Eurovision, the petition for G4S, they are so easy, so all on our website, and there is a flyer if you don't have the information, flyers all over the place. And then today only we launched the crowdfunding. We need money. We have been working on this as volunteers for years, and it doesn't go as fast as we would like it. Only 3 months ago we managed to employ a campaigner part-time, and to be able to keep him, we need money. So please tell your people and your networks that they can donate. One last requirement from me, please. We are desperate to build a network of students who support Palestine in the universities, in campuses. If you ever know anyone who is pro-Palestine, wants to be involved in BDS, please send us their details. We really need them badly. Thank you so much.